Hello and welcome back to the Marketing Chat Room. I am here today with Jake Kurtz from American Pacific Mortgage. He is a mortgage advisor and loan officer. You can also find him on probably every platform. Jake from Home Loans, like Jake from State Farm, but even better. So welcome, Jake. Excited to get into talking a little bit about content and your background there and what you've gotten out of your content strategy today.
No, I'm excited to be here. Thanks again for having me on, and we'll see what we can do.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you don't mind giving us just a really quick intro on you and how you got started and why you got started doing content in the
Yeah,
mortgage industry, I would love to hear that.
yeah, absolutely. So my background, I went to school for music. I have a lot of background with churches, working in tech, on stage, doing music, audio, all that sort of stuff. So when I became a loan officer back in 2021, my wife's actually the one that kind of got me started with social media. She was running PR and marketing for a real estate company and doing all their corporate stuff. And she's like, "You have to do this." And I was like, "I do not want to dance on camera. Absolutely not." Naturally, then I followed my wife's advice and I danced on camera. And right off the bat, like first video had like 6,000 views. And I was like, "Whoa, this is sick." Like, okay, how do we do this? And then it just kind of went over time. I still cringe if you go back. I haven't deleted any posts, but like if you go back all the way through my Instagram, it's just like the first year to year and a half, I was scared because I was new in the industry, so I wasn't giving any like real content. It was all the voiceovers that everybody was doing, where they're like pointing and like numbers
Uh-huh.
popping up and like things like that. It's just super cringy. And then about probably 2.5, 3 years ago now, I started doing actual educational content, and that was kind of always my goal and my get go was like, being able to do it from a place of as I learn, I teach and showing clients because I know for me a huge mistake in my life was that I never I never got pre-approved. I never knew what it was. I always just assumed I couldn't do it. So my experience kind of led me to that place in my social media of, okay, how do I educate so people don't make the same mistakes I did, which is why I work so much with first time buyers and things like that. But in general, on the content side, that just slowly progressed. I tried different tactics, the just selfie style in the car, trying to do it professionally, like all this sort of stuff until recently. And kind of switching it up again and really actually putting my skills to use and using AI tools and a nice camera and even without a nice camera, but just being able to do it a little bit better, making content that I'm truly proud of. That's not just to educate, but it's good looking content that's clean, that looks nice, and have gotten the reception on it has been way higher, which is really cool to kind of see like it's worth the extra work to put into it. And yeah, that's kind of I guess the story on how I got started in it and where that went. But and it's super important. Does a lot for my business and even just client relationships. People feel like they know me when they see the videos, and when they talk to me, they kind of already get a sense of who I am. So
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. And that's a lot of what as I work for a marketing agency, a lot of what we tell our clients, like people want to see you, people want to build a relationship with you and your brand. If you're part of your brand or if you're not part of your brand, they like people want to get to know people. So you really nailed it with that one. And it's
yeah,
so nice to be able to come into a conversation where someone is slightly familiar with what you do and what you teach, right? Because
absolutely.
then there's just a warmer lead. If it's,
Yeah,
if you're selling them something, they're a warmer lead. If you're helping them with something, they already have some of the information. So then you
yeah,
get to do a little bit less of that and a little bit more like
exactly.
of the fun stuff and the relationship building.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So it's been fun. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things I always come back to. You work with people you know, like, and trust, and social media, YouTube, like any sort of marketing content. The goal of it, yeah, there's a lot of people doing ads with it, but like the goal is less of the ad and more of the, hey, here's why you want to work with me. Here's why you should like me. Here's why you should trust me. Like that, like focusing on the personal side, I think is so important. Obviously, the personal side, giving the education and teaching, but yeah, it's just huge doing that. So.
Yeah, that's really cool. And did you actually dance? You said you started off and you were like, I want to dance on camera. Did you actually do it?
No, thankfully, I'm trying to remember what the first one was. I'm sure you'll probably throw it on screen here or something like that and just be like, oh, here it was. But to go all the way back to my feed, my very first video was like something like that, and like pointing, like it was like
Uh-huh.
like, and like
Oh
I would
yeah, yeah, yeah.
throw up facts like when I pointed, and it was like this huge. I don't know. That was like the trend in 2021 was like all the voiceovers is all anyone was doing,
It was,
um,
yeah.
and it was some song, and like yeah, everybody, all my friends teased me about it for literal months after. And, but it worked, and it got people in the door, got people to follow, and like try to figure out what I was doing as I was trying to figure out what I was doing too. So I'm glad I did it, no regrets. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, I did feel like an idiot, absolutely.
You kind of have to. I feel like anyone that's looking to start a content strategy, like you've got to realize there is that vulnerable piece to it, and you just have to decide, like, am I
Yeah,
okay making a bunch of mistakes and letting everyone witness it,
yeah,
or
oh, absolutely. And it's one of those things you just kind of do it and move on, and then you say, "Here we go." It's like either it works or it doesn't, and if it doesn't work, you change it and do it again. So
absolutely,
yeah.
yeah. Cool. So what, as far as like creating your content and your ultimate goal is to educate people on mortgages, and then if they need help with a mortgage, which most people do at some point in life, you can help them. Have you found that that's created like a sales funnel for you? Have you actually gotten business that comes from your content?
Yeah, yeah. So I closed my first lead off Instagram probably 3 years ago now, maybe two and a half. And it was funny because I had no idea they were following me. It was someone that hadn't commented, hadn't messaged me, nothing else like that. And then
Yeah.
out of the blue one day, I get a message like, "Hey, I saw your video like a year ago. I've been following you since then. Where do I get started?" And I got her on the phone, and she's like, "Hey, we're probably a year or two away, but like, let's talk about it now." And we started talking. And once we actually went through the conversation, she's like, "We can do that. Like, we can absolutely make this work." And so, within about I think it was 2 months, we were in contract on a home, and helped them purchase. And they've now been in that home for 2.5, almost, I think, yeah, 2.5 years now. And so just really cool to see, like, that was the very first one. And that was what kind of reignited my spark. You can see I go through, the waves of like, hey, I post a ton and
Uh-huh.
then nothing at all and post a ton. And it kind of reignited my spark to be like, okay, I need to post more. Like, I had this person that I didn't even know was following me. I didn't even know that they were watching my stuff because they weren't commenting, they weren't liking, there was nothing else on it. And then all of a sudden I get a message and then close a deal. And I ended up closing 3 or 4 that year later off of it too. And then again, last year I had a couple. Um, and then more recently, I've had YouTube since the beginning too. And again, it's one of those things, I'm on it and then I'm not, and then I'm on it. Just the consistency of it, it's hard when you don't see results doing something.
Mhm.
And it's not your actual job. It's a side thing you're doing to try to build something. And it's like, if it's not
Yeah.
working, it's like, okay, when do I quit? And when do I keep going? And I think I've finally got to the point where I had a single YouTube video this last year. I just hit like 60,000 views on it, and I'm getting like sometimes 2 to 3 leads a week off of it. Literally last
Wow.
night, 10:30 p.m., I got an email. It was like, "Hey, I saw this video, wanted to talk to you about this, this, and this." And it's like, the goal for me in creating the content is educate through the content and then make the bar as low as possible for people to actually reach out and get started. So no credit
Hmm.
pull, no application, no nothing else. Like, let's just talk, let's educate. Then you can hopefully feel like you trust me a little bit more, and I can get to know what you're actually looking for. So then as we get into the actual process, now I have an outline of what I need to do. But that's just kind of where social media's been at, is like, it was one of those things for literally the last 4 years I've been in the industry of like, do I do it? Do I not? Where am I at? Inconsistent. And then once it started actually picking up, it's like, okay, this is just as important as any other lead generation I'm doing, if not more important, because this is a free thing. I'm not paying to go to an event. I'm not having to sponsor an event. I don't need to put up a tent and set up and tear down. I can do this in an hour or two once a week and get it done and get content posted. And then all I'm doing is following up with people. I'm answering comments on YouTube. I am responding to people's stories or commenting on things that I think sound good. Like, at this, you're really, and I know, as you mentioned, like, the goal is to build a relationship, and social media is just
Hmm.
to do that. It's no different than going out to all these events and meeting people in person, except now you get to involved in their everyday life and you can kind of see what they're doing with it. So, hope that answered the question.
Yeah, totally. And then that's nice because you can then kind of come in as a consultant, right? When they're reaching out to you, then you're really just nurturing that and being like,
Yeah,
and now let me personalize the information for your situation. And
yeah,
there's
absolutely.
something super valuable about that.
Well, and it's been really fun too, because it's obviously I'm talking about like the me side of it, the me side of the marketing of,
Yeah.
hey, this is what I've done, this is what I've gotten from it. But in the last couple months, what I've really started doing is teaching the other people in my business to do it.
Oh, nice.
Let's meet up, let's talk about how I script, let's talk about how I record, let's talk about what I used to edit. I'm sure in a little bit here we'll get into some editing tools and like kind of where that goes. But how I used to take hours to sit there and try to scroll through Instagram and find an idea and then write down ideas and then, okay, when am I going to do this? And then record it. And you have to do all this stuff and it's like, I found something that worked for me and my style is not going to work for everybody,
Yeah.
but it's fun because I get to kind of have people in and I'll teach, like I teach realtors. I have a buddy who owns a detailing company. He called me up a couple weeks ago. He's like, hey, can you help me with this? So we met up for an hour, recorded an ad and he posted it and got a bunch of leads off it. It's like just things you can do with that marketing that is so far beyond what so many people think of, like, oh, you got to go dance on TikTok. It's like, no, you can do all these things and you can do them um, well for not a ton of money or, having someone help you run it, but it's absolutely necessary to get started. And that's kind of where I've been at with people is the people that don't have any, at least get started. And then once you get big, then you figure out where you're going to go from there. But it's free marketing that's absolutely worthwhile. So
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing better. Nothing better than free leads. And so you mentioned that you've kind of evolved your process over time, right? Like you were spending a lot of time and it sounds like the research phase, like seeing what other people are doing that was working.
yeah.
And now you have a new process. Talk to me about what that looks like. How have you simplified it for yourself?
Yeah, so I have this camera that I've had for years that was just sitting around, and I finally figured out how to. Funny enough, as I told you this morning, some stuff broke, and I was like, I need new cords. But I finally figured out how to use it basically as a webcam, and so that was huge for me. In the process of I'm similar to what I said with my clients, where I need to keep the bar low, and it's like, hey, the quicker I can get them in, the better I can have the conversations, and then from there we can work on what we need to work on. But keeping the bar low up front, making there no entrance fee, no full on application. I don't need personal information. I think the same way as that. So for
Mhm.
me, having an office set up that I can literally click a button without having to do anything and actually record my videos and actually get them started and online is huge. And so kind of when it comes to the
Mhm.
process, I have two different processes. Number one is for YouTube videos. I literally have this camera sitting on a mount on my wall against the other side of my office. And it's just set up on me all the time. And all I got to do is literally turn it on and record. And I love that. So that makes my YouTube process a lot easier. So now most of my time is spent scripting. And then once I'm scripting,
Mhm.
I can usually record in 1 to 2 takes because I'm used to it now.
Yeah.
And then finalize it back into with the editing. And then my Instagram process, me and one of my referral partners actually meet up about once every 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll sit down and we meet up with scripts ready. We both have our scripts good to go. We've gone through ChatGPT, we've
Uh-huh.
edited, we've gone above and beyond to make sure it's actually something we'd say, real information. Excuse me. Real useful information that's actually educational or whatever it needs to be, and then so we'll script and then we actually just go take the camera out and we walk to it. There's a little grass patch over here, and we literally go over there and we record each other doing this. And something I learned over the years, whether it's marketing or not, is like good audio is the most important. Good camera quality is really, it's a second, but people will not listen to it if there's not good audio. And so making sure there's a good mic and it's clear and it's concise and how you talk and how you script. And then, it took me a little while to work on the hooks and things like that. But again, all that's done in scripting. So we get out there and
Mhm.
he'll press record and we do a one-time recording through it. So, let's say I have a reel or a YouTube short that I'm planning to record that's maybe a minute when it's done. We'll turn the camera on. We'll sit there. We'll do a couple different angles from it, so it's one camera for the whole thing. We'll say, I'll talk through a certain part of my script. Hey, are you looking for this? La da 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 da. And then I'll stop and I'll just pause and stare at the camera, and then he'll move angles or come closer,
Uh-huh.
or whatever that looks like. And then I'll pull out my script, look at the next part of the script, get that memorized, and then say, well, then this is what you're gonna do, and like kind of go through there. So it looks like we have multiple camera angles, and it's all in one recording, which makes it super
Nice.
easy. So when I bring it back here, like I can record one of those videos that's going to take a minute and a half in maybe 6 minutes. So we'll do all the different angles. We'll say it a couple times and he'll give me feedback, which is why I like having someone else there of like, hey,
Mhm.
you're a loan officer. So you said this. No one's going to know what the heck you're talking about. Like, say it like this, and give me kind of
Yeah.
feedback on it. And so we'll kind of go over that too, which is cool. And then when I come back here, I can literally edit it all. I use an editor called Descript. That's an AI editor. So I literally upload it to Descript. Once it's in there, it transcribes the entire thing. So then I'm not editing the actual videos, which was always my headache for years when I was trying to do YouTube, was I was using Final Cut Pro or I was using Adobe Pro Tools, and trying to actually really be a professional editor, which I'm not.
Uh-huh.
When I started using Descript, it was great because now I'm editing the transcript. So I can see where it's blank, where I wasn't talking, where I was getting set, and I can literally highlight and delete, and it'll pull the whole video out. And then same with, if I mess up 2 or 3 times, I can read through instead of watching the video, I can read through the takes because I can read a heck of a lot faster than I can watch a minute of a video. And I'll find the best take through reading it, and then I'll just highlight and delete the rest. And it'll just auto crop and auto cut everything together fully based on the transcript. So I can usually edit one of those videos in less than 5 minutes. And then it has captions included. I can do music. I can add, zoom in, zoom out. Like it'll do everything you need it to. So my
Mhm.
process now, basically the way I do short form content, is I'll get 4 scripts ready to go. We go up and take 45 minutes to record it. And we're each recording 4. And so it's like that's a total of eight scripts we just recorded. I'll come back and edit all my 4 scripts in less than 5 to 6, or like probably 5 to 10 minutes each, depending on how long it took to do it. But I can
Yeah.
have an entire month, because I post once a week on these like longer form, or these real content. I can have an entire month of content done in about 2 hours on a Monday, where all the scripting is done, all the recording's done, all the editing's done, and then I'm just scheduling. And it's
Mhm.
really cool because then I can focus my time in social media on the relationship, on the messaging clients and DMing people when I see something on their story that I like, or commenting on things, or sharing posts. I'm not
Yeah.
constantly worried about keeping up on hey, when am I posting? How does my grid look? Is it good content? I do all my editing up front. So it's just, I don't have to worry about any of it. And then I'm not the type of person that does any of the like market updates. Every
Uh-huh.
once in a while I'll throw one in there, but I'm not like hey, like race drop, like that type of thing. I try to make it educational, and I always hear the term evergreen content. Like,
Yeah.
it's never going to go bad. Someone can look at it in 3 years and it's still going to be the same. So that's kind of what I focus
Mhm.
on for all my stuff. So that was a little long winded, but that's kind of my process for short form. And then long form, again, is a little different. A lot of scripting. Then once I usually just put it in my calendar, I'm going to record it this time, and I just click a button and I just record the whole thing through. And again, editing into script, good to go. And then there we go. So yeah.
Totally. Yeah, I love that you said you work on some evergreen type of content, and you kind of focus on making your content evergreen. That's really smart, especially because didn't you say you're still getting leads from like that video you made a long time ago? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That video was 8 months ago now, and like,
Okay.
yeah, I'm still getting 2 to 3 a week. And it's funny because that one started. I had 17 views for the first 2 months, and then
Hmm.
one day I all of a sudden get a notification from like YouTube Studio on my phone. It was like, "Hey, you're at 350 views." I was like, "What do you mean I'm at 350 views?" And then the next day it was like, "You're at 700 views," and the next day it was 1,000, and then 1,500, and then 2,000. And then I had a day where I had 1,000 views in a day, and I'm like, "Holy cow! Like, what just happened?" So people
Yeah.
follow me off of it. So I've made a lot of my other YouTube content now having to do with that video of like, hey, I got
Nice.
a lot of people that YouTube people don't watch the whole thing 90% of the time. So they're calling me
Hmm.
about this
Hmm.
program that I'm literally saying don't use it. And they're like, you said you use this. I was like, that's the opposite of what I said. But so here's this video where I clarify everything. Go watch this, please. Like it's just funny. So yeah,
That's awesome.
it's cool. Yeah, evergreen content is definitely the way to go for the most part if you're looking to educate. So
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people kind of true. I think a lot of people get it wrong. Like a lot of people are out there thinking about trying or trying, and like you said, there can be a lot of roadblocks, whether they're physical or mental. There can be a lot of things that stand in the way between you and actually posting content on social media, right?
yeah,
And it sounds like you've done a really good job of largely eliminating a lot of those roadblocks, or just simplifying them as
yeah,
much as you possibly can, to the point where it's just like, this is my process. I click go. I'm spending 2 hours a week and generating free leads. Like
right.
that's the goal of doing
Oh yeah,
content, right? And
absolutely. I mean, that's huge.
yeah, I like the strategy, and I like your approach to creating content. I think that's really smart, of just like, let's get it all recorded, let's get it all cut and scheduled, and then you don't have to think about it as much. Like you don't
Yeah,
have to feel as overwhelmed or as stressed, because you're just like, I know I can create something of value
yeah.
by dedicating 2 hours a week to it, or whatever it might
Well,
be.
and that's the thing too. Once ChatGPT came out, that was really the game changer for me. Um,
Mhm.
I I was just explaining to someone the other day of like, I'm really good at taking an idea and making it better. And like I can script it, I can tell you exactly what you need to do, I can educate you on it. I'm not good at coming up with the ideas in the first place. So
Mhm.
for me, once I've already created content on something like, an FHA versus a conventional loan or whatever else it's going to be, I have a hard time redoing it. And so, or I have a hard time thinking anything else. Like, what's different? What's going to be better? And how can I educate in a different way? And so, I used to struggle with that because I knew people that bashed content back in 2021, 2022. And I was like, there's no way
Uh-huh.
I can do that. I have to set a time, an hour every day to actually scroll through Instagram, figure out what I'm going to do, find a sound that's going to work for it, and then try to figure out what I'm going to put in there and how is it going to be relevant? How's it going to do this? And like, so it drained me trying to think of social media for years. And then, yeah, probably a year and a half ago, I went to there was a speaker at one of the events around here, and he started talking about AI and how to use ChatGPT. And he's the one that he's the reason I found Descript, like the AI editor. Like, oh, I was like, that makes it easy. But he talked about like, hey, go create a profile on ChatGPT. So I've had it ask me 20 questions about my business. I answered everything, and then I had to do another 20 questions to specify. So my ChatGPT knows my entire business. It knows my clientele base. It knows what I'm trying to do. It knows the loans that I've closed. It knows the people I've helped. It knows why things have been good and why things have been bad. Like it knows a lot of that. So whenever I'm looking for content ideas, I'll go in ChatGPT and say, hey, give me 15 of the top search content ideas for a mortgage broker with my background, specifically looking at helping first time buyers using down payment assistance, low first time, or excuse me, I'm trying to say low down payment loans, options like that of like, hey, these are who I work the most with. Now, I
Yeah.
also want things focusing on, okay, people trying to move up, investors, people that would need to refinance, people that are having a hard time with cash because they've spent too much on credit cards and need, so there's kind of all that sort of stuff. And I state out everything in ChatGPT. Hey, help me find this, this, and this. And so when I do that, it makes it great. And it'll give me 15 or 20 ideas. And a lot of times I'll say, search the SEOs of Google, YouTube, Instagram. What are the top things being searched? Now I have 15 ideas. And from those, I can take that and say, okay, these 4 I like, the rest of these I don't want to do. And then I'll say,
Yeah.
okay, for this idea, I like this. Give me a hook. Here's my 3 main points. Please type this up in a way that I can state it. So,
Mhm.
and I think that's like the idea of batching content. That's the number one thing that changed my entire social media game out of everything I've done is learning how to use ChatGPT to help me actually batch and script. Now I don't have
Mhm.
the stress of what am I talking about and trying to come up with all these new ideas. The ideas are still good and they're all my personal thoughts. I just have it come up with the ideas and then help me write the script, but I'm putting all the actual facts and information in. So it's facts that are coming from me. It's not just a Google search that you can do, and
Totally.
based on
Yeah.
my experiences. And so having it kind of help you script has been huge in actually batching the content. And then I can actually get it done because I now have the scripting done and I can show up and just record it and edit it and then post it and not think about it again. So,
Yeah.
yeah, huge one as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's smart. I use ChatGPT for everything, but for for my content as well. But it's smart to start with what are people searching for, especially when you're looking to do a YouTube strategy, because that really plays into the SEO piece of it all.
Oh yeah.
And I've found that the title on YouTube is so important. Like that's what I think has made the biggest difference for my content, which I'm
Yeah.
miles behind where you are with views and such on YouTube. But yeah, I have noticed when I'm titling my video something that's like more searchable or more relevant or more like trending in the keyword sense,
Yeah.
um, it's definitely getting more visibility. So I think that
Yeah.
that is a smart place to start, like asking ChatGPT, in relation to what I want to talk about and what I'm good at talking about. What are
Right.
people looking for?
Absolutely. Yeah. I did some YouTube like classes, just through YouTube, the free ones that they do. And it was
Yeah.
like, you have to understand that the things that are higher search, yes, there's more videos being produced about them because everybody's going for them, but you have a higher chance of getting noticed on something that's higher searched if you have a good title and a thumbnail than you do on
Mhm.
something that's not being searched as much. So even though
Right.
the pool is smaller, it's also a smaller chance that people are fishing in the pool. And so trying to figure that out with YouTube and Instagram and everything, like there's so many people doing this nowadays that it's so hard to get noticed. Like it's so hard to have your video be the one that comes up or your content come up and without paying for all this stuff. Every once in a
Yeah.
while I'll post an ad on Instagram and it's like all right, here we go. We're just going to pay for it and we're going to hope that I get some followers and hopefully someone follows me that actually wants to do something.
Uh-huh.
And if not, hopefully I'm educating. It's like one of the two things happen. So, but yeah,
Right.
using the SEO on both Instagram and YouTube specifically is huge in trying to get your stuff out there and in front of more people. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Jake, for talking with me today. I think that people are going to get a lot of value, especially people looking to or considering starting a content strategy for themselves. Do you have any parting thoughts that you want to share before we sign off?
if you're thinking about it, do it. And work with someone that knows how to do it. Like, absolutely. It's one of those things that, a lot of people are willing to give advice and help you out. And I think the biggest hurdle is always getting started. And I know that for a lot of people when they're dealing with that is, trying to understand that it's about putting the content out there. It's not about being perfect because people want to see you. Like, that's the biggest point of marketing, is that they're trying to figure out who you are to know if they want to work with you. It's less about the product and more about you as a person. So the best way you can be you and show them who you are is actually getting out there and doing it. Even if you're making mistakes, people love that. So, yeah, just get out and do it if you're thinking about it. And I think that's the biggest thing I have. So,
Well, thank you again so much for joining us today, Jake. You
yeah.
can find him at Jake from Home Loans. And I might just have to I might have to find a link to your first video and drop it in the show notes for everyone to see.
There we go. Yeah, do it. Yeah, it'll be fun.
It'll be so fun. All right. Thank you.
I
Bye.
appreciate it. Thanks.